everybody. So, before we begin, I just want to ask if anybody has any questions. Hold off until the end, and we'll happily answer questions. I would like to take a moment to thank everybody who participated, and I know it was a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, and I just want to say I'm very grateful for my team. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's get into it.
Hey, this is Sophia Sheikh, and I'm going to be talking about switch domains. First, I would like to start off with collision domains. A collision domain is when network segments share the same bandwidth between devices. In hub-based Ethernet segments, network devices compete for the medium because devices must take turns when transmitting. If an Ethernet switch port is operating in half duplex, each segment is in its own collision domain. However, Ethernet switch ports operating in full duplex eliminate collisions because full duplex mode makes use of two physical pairs of twisted cable, where one pair is used for receiving data packets and the other pair for sending packets. Therefore, there is no collision domain. Next is broadcast domain. A collection of interconnected switches forms a single broadcast domain. Only a network layer device, such as a router, can divide a layer 2 broadcast domain. Routers are also used to segment broadcast domains and will also segment a collision domain. Layer 2 broadcast domains are referred to as the MAC broadcast domain. This consists of all devices on the local area network that receives broadcast frames from a host. Lastly is alleviating network congestion. A full duplex connection can carry transmitted and received signals at the same time, which has dramatically increased local area network performance and is required for 1 gigabit Ethernet speeds and higher. Some other important characteristics of switches that contribute to alleviating network congestion includes high port density, large frame buffers, which is the ability to store more received frames before having to start dropping them, port speed, fast internal switching, which is having fast internal forwarding capabilities, and low per port cost, which switches provide high port density at a lower cost.
Hi, I'm Shannon, and in this presentation, we're going to be giving you the rundown on switched networks. Let's address the question of what a switched network is. You all, as networking and computer science students, already know what a switch is, right? Well, a switched network is simply a network where devices communicate with one another via switches. So let me kickstart my section off, beginning with converged networks. Simply put, a converged network combines several types of traffic, such as voice, video, and email, along with other types of data into one single network. What's the point in converged networks? Well, given that they combine so many types of services into one, not only do they save money, but the process of managing the network becomes far more simplified, as opposed to managing, for example, a separate network for voice and a separate network for email, etc. One solution to implementing converged networks is the borderless network. In essence, a borderless network is an ideal framework for how networks can be optimized to connect everyone from everywhere, anytime. The key features of a borderless network are that it is 1. Hierarchical, meaning that each device on each level and its role are fully understood and made to be as efficient as possible. 2. Modular, meaning that the network and its components allow for changes and expansion. 3. Resilient, meaning that the network remains up and properly functional. 4. Flexible, meaning that all resources are properly utilized in order to accommodate the demands on the network. I know I've tossed out the term hierarchical in regard to the borderless network, but we haven't gotten too in-depth on it, so let's dive in. Hierarchical refers to a model of network design. There are two models for hierarchical networks, the two-tier model and the three-tier model. For the two and three-tier models to make sense, I'll explain the tiers first. The three tiers of the hierarchical framework are the access layer, the distribution layer, and the core layer. The access layer is the network edge, where traffic enters and exits the network. This layer provides network access to the user. The distribution layer acts as something of a liaison between the access layer and the core layer. The core layer is the backbone of the network. It ties all branches of the network together, providing high-speed connection and redundancy. Now that I've explained the three layers, let me explain what the two and three-tier models are. It's simple. The three-tier model includes all three layers in its design. The two-tier model, however, combines the distribution layer and the core layer into one. The combining of these two layers would befit a situation such as a smaller network, where the separation of the two isn't really needed. To summarize, the high structure of the hierarchical network model provides flexibility, traffic management, quality of service, security, and several other benefits to enable the optimization of the network, which is incredibly important and will become increasingly important as time goes on and greater performance is demanded of our networks. One important part of these switched, converged, hierarchical networks that we haven't covered is the actual switches. The switches are a crucial part to making these modernized, optimized networks work. But with that said, how do we know which switch to choose? Let's discuss. There are several things that need to be taken into consideration when choosing which switches to use in the network, including the cost, port density, port speed, power, reliability, and frame buffers. Different networks will have different needs, so the needs and goals of each network need to be planned out before choosing which switch to purchase and install. There are a few other options to consider when choosing a switch, and those are the various form factors. Switch form factors include fixed configuration and modular configuration, and stackable and non-stackable. Fixed configuration switches only support the features that they come with. This means no extra features, no extra ports. What you buy is what you get. The counter to that is the modular configuration, which allows for extra port installation via line cards. While non-stackable switches are as is, stackable switches can be connected together with a special cable to essentially function together as one large switch. This also provides fault tolerance should a switch or two fail. Now, I hope you've learned a thing or two from me, but that's all for my time. Let me pass you on to Bill for a lesson in frame forwarding.
Hey, I'm Bill, and I'll be discussing frame forwarding with you guys. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, let me begin by discussing what frame forwarding even is and its importance in our everyday world, especially in the world of networking. Much of the switch's job relies on quick decision making, helping frames for getting from point A to point B with minimal error and with such precision, which I find pretty neat. Frame forwarding does exactly that. It's sending packets to their destination efficiently with little to no errors. Because of this, a switch relies on two types of criteria to help it function: an incoming port and an outgoing port. And based on these two ports, it can control the traffic and needs to perform its operations. This is frame forwarding in layman's terms. Basically, it's an efficient way to transfer frames from one point to another with little to no error. Every message that goes through the incoming port is added to an addressing table. The switch regulates the flow of traffic this way. Oh, thank goodness we don't have to configure this manually. Right?
Are you sure about that?
Now, let's go ahead and dive into the part that allows the switch to function as the quote-unquote hub replacer and its method on forwarding packets. You see, our Cisco overlords use this form of forwarding known as store and forwarding, which is broken down into two parts: error checking and automatic buffering. Error checking is seeing if the frame is free from any errors from the data link and the physical layer. If it doesn't have any errors, it'll go ahead and be forwarded throughout the switch and go to its destination. However, If it has errors, then it's gonna drop faster than you grade this semester. Too soon, too soon. Next is automatic buffering, and to put it simply, it's just a way for a switch to maintain the speed. This is more common on Ethernet switches. Lastly, we have cut-through switching. And again, it's broken down into two parts: rapid frame forwarding and fragment-free forwarding. Okay, let me break it down to you this way. The rapid frame forwarding is like you rushing to school. You're quickly eating breakfast and trying to put on your pants while you're looking for your backpack. Well, when you find your backpack, you quickly jump into your car and you're off to school. That's how rapid frame forwarding works. It quickly sends the frame as soon as it's found on the table, and it really does not check for any errors. However, fragment-free is quite the opposite. It takes its time. It gets up early, eats, it has everything prepared neatly. This is essentially how fragment-free forwarding works. It takes its time to see if there's any errors with the frame. Though fragment-free is slower than rapid frame forwarding, it makes a better error checker.